So all that represses our fallen consciousness, that is mankind's, was taken from him, Ashwapati, like a forgotten load. It was just taken from him. And then that fire that seemed the body of a god consumed all of these limiting figures of the past, and as a result, and made large room for a new self to live. And then please continue.
Eternity's contract broke the molds of sense.
Well, the molds of sense are our limited understanding of things. And once we have that contact with eternity, they are broken. Because they're basically habits, these molds of sense. So carry on. A greater force.
A great force than the earthly held. A
I
great,
think it's greater.
a greater force than the earthly held his limbs. Huge workings bared his undiscovered sheaths. Strange energies wrought and screamed tremendous hands, unwound the triple cord of mind, and freed the heavenly wideness of a Godhead's gaze.
So we have a number of things here to talk about. We have these, of course, these huge workings that bared his undiscovered sheaths. Now I can see you again. Yeah. And then we have these strange energies that wrought, that formed, and these screamed tremendous hands unwound the triple cord of mind and freed the heavenly wideness of a Godhead's gaze. Now, this triple cord of mind is in the secret of the Veda. There's a quote, "O Agni, O priest of the offering, loose from us the cord." He is using not only a natural, but a richly laden image. He is thinking of the triple cord of mind, nerves, and body, by which the soul is bound as a victim in the great world of sacrifice. The sacrifice of the Purusha. Just a second. And then he continues and he says, he is thinking of the force of the divine will already awakened and at work within him. So this is what Ashwapati is going through. This triple cord of mind is gone now. It's unwound, actually. Unwound, he said. And it is freed into the heavenly wideness of the Godhead's gaze. So we see already the avatar coming very clearly through. He's going to continue a little bit more on that.
As through a dress the wearer's shape is seen, there reached through forms to the hidden absolute, a cosmic feeling and transcendent sight.
Interesting, very beautiful line. As through a dress, the wearer's shape is seen. So there reaches through these forms to this hidden absolute. And what is it? It's a cosmic feeling and a transcendent sight. And increased and heightened for the instruments in Ashwapati.
Increased and heightened were the instruments. Illusion lost her aggrandizing lens. As from her failing hand the measures fell, atomic looking, atomic looked the things that loomed so large.
Well, because illusion always has a magnifying lens. When we feel things that are elusive to us, they're illusionary, it's because our mind cannot widen out enough to, to see the full picture. And so he says that as from her failing hand the measures fell, these things that looked or loomed so large are now looking atomic.
Mm,
So they're looking so small.
right.
Sri Aurobindo does say, and it's very beautiful, in the essays Divine and Human, in every particle, atom, molecule, cell of matter, there lives hidden and works unknown all the omniscience of the eternal and all the omnipotence of the infinite. In every particle, atom, molecule, and cell of matter.
Mm.
We have to get there one day to understand that. So carry on.
The little ego's ring could join no more. In the enormous spaces of the self, the body now seemed only a wandering shell, his mind the many frescoed outer court of an imperishable inhabitant. His spirit breathed a superhuman air.
Good, good. This little ego's ring can't even come together anymore. Can't join them because these enormous spaces of the self are there now. And therefore his body only seems like a wandering shell. And his mind seems like a many frescoed outer court. We know what a fresco is. It's a kind of paint on moist plaster.
Mm.
And we see these frescoes in the time of Michelangelo and Leonardo. So his mind is simply a many frescoed outer court, but of what? Of an imperishable inhabitant. And therefore his spirit breathed superhuman air. And he wants to continue again.
The imprisoned deity rent its magic fence.
Yeah, imprisoned, the imprisoned.
The imprisoned deity
Yeah.
rent its magic fence.
You know what rent is? It tore it open. It tore apart the magic fence. And the God comes out in him.
As with a sound of thunder and of seas, vast barriers crashed around the huge escape.
So we see that these barriers that are crashing, they're almost crashing with the sound of thunder and of sea, because it's a huge escape into the eternal and everlasting and immutable world.
Hmm.
So he will tell us now about that.
Immutably coeval with the world,
Coeval, coeval.
coeval.
Coeval means of the same period or age.
Okay.
In other words, contemporary.
Hmm.
And let's speed out the lines so you feel it. Immutably coeval with the world.
Immutably,
Go ahead.
immutably coeval with the world.
See how it works perfectly. Good.
Immutably coeval with the world, circle and end of every hope and toil, inexorably drawn around thought and act, the fixed immovable peripheries efface themselves beneath the incarnate's tread.
So two words here. Inexorably, inexorably,
Inexorably,
and
inexorably,
incarnate strength,
incarnate,
not incarnate strength, but incarnate strength.
incarnate dread.
Got it?
Yeah.
Good. So, what are we seeing now? We're seeing that this change, this huge uh, deity that has torn open this magic fence where it was imprisoned. And as a result, with the sound of thunder and of seas, these great barriers crashed around the huge escape. Full stop. Immutably coeval with the world. So immutably means not susceptible to change. It cannot change. Not subject to change or susceptible to change. So it is of the same period, but it's with the world and it's immutable. It's also the circle and end of every hope and toil, every hope and toil of ours. This is the circle and the end of it. Because we have to break out of this magic fence. We have to break through, which Ashwati has done. Now we have circle and end of every hope and toil, inexorably drawn round thought and act. So it is not capable of being persuaded by entreaty. It's relentless. Nobody can do anything about it. It's inexorable. Inexorably drawn round thought and act. What is drawn round thought and act? The fixed, immovable peripheries, these outer areas, have now effaced themselves. They've erased themselves or obliterated themselves beneath the incarnate's tread. Beneath them. When they did this, when they started doing this animated film, you might have seen on Sri Aurobindo. They took this out, and I didn't feel it was a good thing, but they showed Sri Aurobindo's foot stepping on India, and it was so powerful and so beautiful in the as they were processing this film. So these fixed, immovable peripheries, they were immovable, but now they efface themselves beneath the incarnate's tread. And the incarnate is the one embodied in flesh. The avatar. The avatar. The divine.
Yeah.
Okay. Carry on.
The dire wellman and the bottomless crypt between which life and thought forever move, forbidden still to cross the dim dread bounds, the guardian darknesses, mute and formidable, empowered to circumscribe the wingless spirit in the boundaries of mind and ignorance, protecting no more a dual eternity, vanished, rescinding their enormous role.
Yeah, but protecting no more a dual eternity, vanished, rescinding their enormous role. A little bit of a hesitation there. And that's just a colon, so we have to continue.
Once of creation's vain ellipse, the expanding zero lost its giant curve.
Oh, we have a lot to go through here. Okay, get back to the beginning. Um, the dire element. Well, dire is something terrible, or can be even desperate, or it can be a misfortune. It can cause great fear or suffering. It can be dreadful, terrible. It's a dire velamen. Now, a velamen anatomically is just a membranous covering. And we see this in the roots of the orchids. If you just moisten your finger and put it on there, that the velamen accepts that moisture right away, immediately. So, so now we see that the dire velamen and the bottomless crypt. The crypt is always, of course, a chamber or a vault. But here it's huge because it's between which life and thought move forever. And then he has a comma after move. And he says, forbidden still to cross the dim dread bounds, the guardian darknesses, mute and formidable, empowered to circumscribe the wingless spirit in the boundaries of mind and ignorance. And I'll stop right there for a moment because we want to understand what's going on here. And the first thing we see is that this dire element and this bottomless crypt are the places between which life and thought forever move. And so, forbidden still to cross the dim dread bounds. What is forbidden to cross them? Well, the guardian darknesses, mute and formidable, empowered to circumscribe the wingless spirit. Circumscribe is to restrict within limits, confine. In, where is the confining? In the boundaries of mind and ignorance. And Sri Aurobindo says that the mind, in the ordinary use of the word, covers indiscriminately the whole consciousness. For man is a mental being and mentalizes everything. But in the language of this yoga, the words mind and mental are used to connote especially the part of the nature which has to do with cognition and intelligence, with ideas, with mental or thought perception, the reactions of thought to things, with the truly mental movements and formations, mental vision and will, etc., that are part of his intelligence. And that's what he writes to a disciple. So we have to understand that even though he has capitalized it, he also capitalizes the description. He capitalizes mind in the description as well. And he says that in the Life Divine, he tells us that mind is an instrument of analysis and synthesis, but not of essential knowledge. So only now we have to see where we're going, because it's protecting no more a dual eternity. But the dual eternity is the duality in which we live. Good and bad, happy, sad, all these things we've talked about so often. Now that vanished, and they rescinded their enormous role. They have an enormous role. Rescinding means repealing or annulling. And then he has a colon there because there are two very important lines coming. Once figure of creation's vain ellipse. The ellipse is the closed curve, on the intersection of a circular cone and a plane cutting completely through it. That's an ellipse. And therefore, the expanding zero lost its line curve. And Madhav Pandit has told us zero does not stand for nothing. Zero does not signify emptiness, but has behind it the face of the immortal. Very beautiful. And let's see, we can go on just a little bit more.
The old adamantine veto stood no more. Overpowered were earth and nature's obsolete rule. The python coils of the restricting law could not restrain the swift arisen God. Abolished were the scripts of destiny.
Ah, it's arisen, not restrain the swift arisen God.
Arisen.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll continue now. We have still, I got 2 pages here. No, I think that's, yeah. Okay. So, the python coils of the restricting law. And Sri Aurobindo has a lot to say about the law. I think we've covered a little of it at times, but he does say in the Lifeline something very important. All cosmic and real law is a thing not imposed from outside, but from within. All development is self-development. All seed and result are seed of a truth of things, and result of that seed determined out of its potentialities. So we can see that when we have a seed that we call is true, for example, an oak seed, it will bear an oak. We can have seeds that are not that strong, and the DNA is variable. A plumeria seed may produce many different colors of plumerias, but it will still be a plumeria. So that's these python coils that restrict so much, like a python, and it's a restricting law. And then we see that could not restrain in Ashwapati or Sri Aurobindo the swift arisen God. So the God has arisen already, and now we see that abolished were the scripts of destiny. So all of these scripts, these laws, these rules are abolished. And Mother says that when you rise into the higher consciousness, all those things of morality, religion, are gone. They don't exist anymore. We see them in a totally different way. And when you get into the highest consciousness, you see that everything is divine. There's nothing undivine. So we have a lot to read if you can read the whole thing.
Yeah. All that represses our fallen consciousness was taken from him like a forgotten load. A fire that seemed the body of a god consumed the limiting figures of the past and made large room for a new self to live. Eternity's contact broke the molds of sense. A greater force than the earthly held his limbs. Huge workings bared his undiscovered sheaths. Strange energies wrought and screamed tremendous hands, unwound the triple cord of mind, and freed the heavenly wideness of a Godhead's gaze. As through a dress the wearer's shape is seen, there reached through forms.
Yeah, but let me stop you there. You want to get that feeling that the wearer's shape is seen as through a dress.
Mm.
As through a dress, the wearer's shape is seen.
As
Okay.
through a dress the wearer's shape is seen, there reach through forms to the hidden absolute, a cosmic feeling and transcendent sight. Increased and heightened were the instruments. Illusion lost her aggrandizing lens, as from her failing hand the measures fell. Atomic looked the things that loom so large. The little ego's ring could join no more. In the enormous space of the self, the body now seemed only a wandering shell, his mind the many frescoed outer court of an imperishable inhabitant. His spirit breathed a superhuman air. The imprisoned deity rent its magic fence. As with a sound of thunder and of seas, vast barriers crashed around the huge escape. Immutably coeval with the world, circle and end of every hope and toil, inexorably drawn round,
Inexorably.
inexor-
Inex- Inexorably.
inexorably drawn round thought and act, the fixed immovable peripheries efface themselves beneath the incarnate's tread. The dire Wellman and the bottomless crypt, between which life and thought forever move, forbidden still to cross the dim dread bounds, the guardian darknesses mute and formidable, empowered to circumscribe the wingless spirit in the boundaries of mind and ignorance, protecting no more a dual eternity, vanished, rescinding their enormous role. Once figure of creation's vain ellipse, the expanding zero lost its giant curve. The old adamantine veto stood no more. Overpowered were earth and nature's obsolete rule. The python coils of the restricting law could not restrain the swift arisen God. Abolished were the scripts of destiny.
Quite good. Quite good. Got some new words there this time.
Yeah,
Some new pronunciations.
yes,
But basically a good reading.
thank you.
I have the sense of the rhythm better now. It's improving every week. So we'll carry on next week.
Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Namaste.